Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me for teaching our children to become self-advocates. My name is Wendy Vance. I'm an advocate investigator with Disability Rights Florida. Prior to my role with Disability Rights Florida, I have worked as a vocational rehabilitation counselor with both the Division of Blind Services and the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. And I have my master's degree in rehabilitation counseling from Florida State University. I look forward to spending this next hour or so with you to discuss self-advocacy as well as our client assistance program. Disability Rights Florida has funding, responsibility, and authority under 9 federal grant programs to protect the rights of Floridians with disabilities. We are the state's protection and advocacy agency under these 9 federal grant programs. We are a not-for-profit corporation since 1987, and we have offices in Tallahassee, Tampa, Hollywood, and Gainesville. We also have satellite offices in several other communities. Basically, wherever you are, we are or can be. We serve the entire state, and all of our services are free. Our mission. Disability Rights Florida advocates, educates, investigates, and litigates to protect and advance the rights, dignity, equal opportunity, self-determination, and choices for all people with disabilities. As I said, we cover the entire state of Florida, and we work with individuals with disabilities, and of course, the families of children with disabilities to resolve those issues that you may have related directly to your disability. And even if it is an area in which we cannot provide direct service, our wonderful staff at our intake line will be able to provide you with some information and referral services so that you can find the right agency to help you with the issue that you may be facing at that time. So there are a variety of different ways that we can help you, like I said, both direct and indirect. So please do not hesitate to contact us about issues you may be having. So for this particular presentation, the topics we're going to cover is what is advocacy? What are some ineffective strategies as well as effective strategies? We're going to talk about the Client Assistance Program. So what is the Client Assistance Program? The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. The Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, as well as the Division of Blind Services, transition services within these agencies, and why advocacy is important. So, advocacy. What is advocacy? Sometimes, it seems like some words make us feel overwhelmed, and I think sometimes some folks might get overwhelmed by this word. What is this advocacy thing? And so today I kind of want to take the mystery out of it a little bit and help you feel a little bit more comfortable with what advocacy is. Both advocacy that is done on your behalf and advocacy that you do for yourself. And so I just want to start briefly with a definition of what is advocacy. What is this thing we're talking about? According to Merriam-Webster, advocacy is the act or process of supporting a cause or proposal, the act or process of advocating for something. So, it's putting forward your cause. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? You have a problem and you have a resolution to the problem and you want to put that forward. whether that's, on a large scale or a small scale, you have an issue and you have a resolution, you want to get to it, and you want to push that resolution forward. Whether, that's, say, for instance, there is not enough buses on your bus route. And so your cause is that you want more buses on your bus route. Well, so this is the cause that you would be putting forward to your city or county or whoever runs the bus service, that you feel that, more buses are needed, and you would present your case and the data for that. And so that would be pushing for, there to be more buses. Now, so self-advocacy basically is making the cause yourself. You're trying to advocate for yourself and your needs, and getting some resolutions to the problems that you're having, right? So you become your own cause. And so, so to put that in like definition terms, self-advocacy is learning how to speak up for yourself, making your own decisions about your life, which is also known as self-determination. And I'm going to talk to a little bit more about that in a second. Learning how to get information so that you can understand things that are of interest to you, finding out who will support you in your journey, knowing your rights and responsibilities, problem solving, listening and learning, reaching out to others when you need help and friendship, and learning about self-determination. Remember, I told you earlier that making choices for yourself, this is self-determination. Basically, it's making those decisions for your life. No one else making the decisions for you. That's not to say that you don't ask others for their opinion or ask them what they might do, but ultimately you are the one that makes the choice about what is right for you. So you make choices about your life, where you go, what you do. That's self-determination, and it's super important, just like self-advocacy and speaking up for yourself. Self-advocacy can be for large problems or small problems. So, for example, of a small problem, let's assume for a minute that you went into a restaurant and you ordered your food, and you made that self-determined choice about what restaurant you wanted to go to, about what food you wanted to eat, but your order came out all wrong. Now you can make some choices here too. You can choose to eat it. You can send it back. You can choose to go hungry because you maybe don't want to start an argument. But choosing to send it back and speaking up for yourself, being a self-advocate and saying, hey, this is wrong. Can you fix it? Bring me another one. Make it better. Whatever the resolution would be, in that moment. So that's one like small problem. Or going to the grocery store and asking for assistance to find an item, or to have someone shop with you. Those could be other small problems where you could be a self-advocate because you're reaching out to get that help that you need. And then of course there are larger problems, that may be system-wide. Maybe what you're asking for yourself, it could be expanded to include other people, because maybe other people are having the same issue. So you could make a change to the system that benefits you, but it also benefits, everyone else having that similar problem. Okay, so we're going to spend a couple of minutes and talk about ineffective strategies. And the first ineffective strategy I want to talk to you about is being aggressive. And under that, you'll see words like rude, demanding, loud, name calling, and getting in someone's space. Let me explain why, through example, that this is not necessarily the most effective strategy. And so normally at this point, I would ask someone from the audience to come and join me, and we would do a demonstration for you guys. But since we can't be together in person, but maybe next year, but since we can't be together in person this time, what I want you to do is either close your eyes and visualize a scene, or you can hit the pause button maybe and act out a scene with somebody there with you if that will help you. So, what I want you to visualize is the last time you were in a department store or maybe a restaurant or places you like to go, and you saw somebody and they were being super rude and demanding and loud because they were trying to get customer service help, whether it was from the waiter or the customer service agent, whoever it was. But just visualize that in your mind, okay? And this person is, like I said, being super loud, they're name calling, and they're just being really, really ugly to the customer service agent or waiter or whoever is trying to help them, right? And so now that you have this image clearly in your mind, either through the visualization or because you've acted it out with someone, what I want you to think about right now is, how did that make you feel? Did it make you feel sad, happy? Were you scared? Who did you want to help? Did you want to help the customer service agent, or did you want to help the person who was yelling and screaming and being nasty? So think about that for a minute. And, did you, when you figure out who, you wanted to help, think about that. If that were you and you were the person that was yelling and screaming at somebody, you've hurt yourself, and let me tell you how. First of all, remember that feeling that you wanted to help the customer service agent because they were being attacked and had to go on the defense, because that's what happens in these situations where you're being aggressive and you're being rude and getting in somebody's space. They feel attacked, so they automatically go on the defensive. The problem you are coming to them with is not so much important now as it is for me to defend myself from you, the attacker. And now you, the observer, feel sympathy for the person behind the counter. That's not what the attacker wanted to do. They wanted that person behind the counter to help them. They probably would have wanted you to help them because, of course, they feel like they're in the right, and maybe they are. As far as the problem is concerned, not in their behavior. But so now you have kind of pushed away anybody that could help you or would want to help you, either in the audience or the person behind the customer service desk. This may lead to a decision that you did not want, also known as an adverse decision, and so this then becomes an ineffective strategy because you've, kind of pushed all the help away, and you've made people feel sorry for the agency or the person that was hurting you. But another way that this is not good is it also sets up this imagery or view that people with disabilities are rude or demanding or loud. It's just a bad image, and it really hurts other people with disabilities when you are behaving in this manner. So, encourage you not to take on that strategy. Also, self-pity. This is another strategy that's ineffective because, when you're self-pitying, you want to talk to other people and you tell other people your problems. And not that telling other people your problems is bad. That's not what I'm saying. But when it becomes an overwhelming, broken record, it's just, woe is me, whatever. One thing, you're not getting up and doing the activities or whatnot that are going to lead you to a positive outcome because you're trapped into that cycle of I feel sorry for myself. And I'm going to tell you that people over time are going to get tired of hearing you say how awful the situation is and not seeing you do anything about it. So again, you kind of alienate and push people away, and you don't really push forward on getting the problem resolved, right? And so, lastly, quitting or giving up. This does not help because realistically, you're not doing anything to advance your cause anymore. You've just stopped trying. And so, this allows the party that has done you wrong, to win because you're just not trying to right the wrong anymore. So, effective strategies. So, the first one is really very opposite to the first one from the last slide, right? It's be polite. Use your polite words like please and thank you and, may I, or whatever, however you want to go about being polite. But being polite does not mean that we're saying for you to allow people to walk all over you or to be anybody's doormat. You can be polite yet firm. This is called being assertive. And assertive is different than aggressive. Aggressive is really in your face, but assertive is just you being firm and you saying firmly, this is what I want. For example, let's say that you're talking to your vocational rehabilitation counselor. And your vocational rehabilitation counselor says, well, all these tests show that you should be a carpenter, and I think that you should be a carpenter, so let's do that. Let's put that on your plan. You, as the client, can say firmly but politely, no, I want to be an engineer, or whatever goes in that blank. And so you were firm about it. You said no. Or you can say, no, thank you. I want to be XYZ, whatever that is, So you have said firmly, no, I'm not agreeing to your plan, and told them, this is what I want, And you could even add in some more information there about why this is what you want, or why this is your interest, or why you feel maybe the test was wrong. Maybe you didn't get your accommodations. Maybe you weren't feeling well that day, what have you. But be polite about it. That's your first step into being an effective self-advocate. So another thing that you could do, another strategy, and I think this is a very important one, is to educate yourself about your rights. Because how can you tell somebody you violated my rights if you don't know what your rights are? So, but to do that, to educate yourself about your rights, you want to first find reliable sources, okay, about your rights. And so you can do that by going places like libraries, support groups, consumer groups. You can look on the internet, but be really cautious and check your sources and make sure that they're reliable sources. So, wouldn't necessarily maybe use some of the online encyclopedias or something like that. But find some trusted sources, maybe for some universities, from the government websites, those kind of things. Look at those things. And then the other thing that you can do is to contact advocacy agencies or groups such as Disability Rights Florida. We offer a lot of information. Again, you can always call our wonderful intake team and ask them questions and look for resources and information there. They can give you a lot of referrals and a lot of good information, and they will assess your situation, of course, and see if there's anything that we can do. So please don't hesitate to contact our excellent team and talk to them about information and resources. They can also help lead you to information about your appeal rights. And sometimes, you can always get, you can sometimes be assigned to an advocate with us that can help you with understanding, your rights or to resolve a situation. You also want to check out an agency's policies. And a lot of agencies have their policies published on their website. So that's another website that you can look at. And here at Disability Rights Florida, we can also help you find out about processes and policies for filing complaints. And again, sometimes that you can get that information from our wonderful intake team, or you might get assigned to an advocate to work with you on that. So that's something that you should do, is to educate yourself about your rights. You need to define what you want to ask for. Instead of just going in and, well, here's my Christmas wish list, maybe keep it down to 1 or 2 items if you can. Sometimes I know things build up and so you have a lot of things to ask for, but if you can, limit it to 1 or 2 so that you don't overwhelm the person that you're asking for. Do that. So basically you're planning ahead, which is what this says under here. Plan ahead to discuss your concerns. Make a list. You want to make a list of those things that you want to talk about so you're prepared. And you also have your research, like know your rights. You can say, this is what I want and this is what policy backs this up, or however you want to word that. But you go in prepared to talk about it. It's not just something that comes off the top of your head and you know what happened. If you've received any letters, this is what the letter said, but this is what I saw the policy said, or something like that. So know what you're doing before you go in. Ask for assistance with your concerns. Know who to talk to and who can make decisions. Okay, so ask for assistance. Again, this is self-advocacy, but also know who you're going to talk to. Not everybody that you're going to talk to about your problem is going to be able to help you with your problem. For example, let's say that you're having a problem with your vocational rehabilitation counselor, and your grandmother is a lovely lady and she loves to listen to you talk anytime. And you go to her and you tell her about your problem. While she's probably pretty sad and upset and can sympathize with you and be really sad for you, and she may even be able to help you write a letter. But the point is that she can't change the situation by herself. There is a decision maker that you need to get to. Sometimes when you get a letter, it will tell you, and it should tell you who to make your appeal to when you get a decision. Or when you're talking to your counselor or whomever at the agency, you can say, I disagree with you. Who can I talk to? Who is the next level person following that chain of command? Because there's a chain of command. Supervisor has a supervisor, and so on and so forth. And so you can follow that. So you find out who you can talk to. It doesn't have to always go to the director or the top. There's probably some people in the middle there too who can help you. So find out who those people are. Build and nurture your relationships with the people who can help you, right? You want to, make those relationships the best that they can be. I'm not necessarily advocating that you send people gifts or anything like that, but just make sure that you're being honest with this person and not necessarily stretching the truth, and learn that person's name. That's really important. It's a part of building and nurturing that relationship. You don't want to call up and say, hey, you helped me last time. Can you help me with this? How about you say, hi, Bob. It's been since yada, yada, yada when we talked, and you were really helpful to me, and I was wondering if you could help me again. And, be sure that, if you run into issues and you just, you can't resolve them, you've tried, you've done everything within your power, instead of, becoming super frustrated, which might lead to the aggressive behavior, different things like that, work with others who can help you. Like I said, maybe grandma can help you write that letter. Or, but in lieu of that, there are lots of different places you can go and get assistance depending on the problem. But specifically for some disability related issues, you can come to us at Disability Rights Florida, and we may be able to help you with an issue. So when you run into an issue, call our lovely intake team so that they can assess your case to see if it's something that we can help you with. So don't go it alone. You have us you can call. So other strategies to help you with this, of course, is dress for success. In other words, put on some nice clothes when you go in for in-person meetings. Fix yourself up, do your hair up, make sure that, like I said, you're well groomed, your hygiene is up, all of those things. Those are really important. Kind of like going to a job interview, you would get duded up. I'm not necessarily saying that you have to wear maybe your, best that you might wear to a special event or your religious service or what have you, but something nice, something clean, make yourself clean and well groomed. This is important. People are going to be kind of more willing to listen to you if you look nice, smell nice, all of those type of things. And when you go into these meetings, whether it's on the phone or if you're in person, listen to the other person. As much as it is important to talk and have your problem out there so they can know what you're asking about, it's very important for you to listen and to find out what the other person has to say. Perhaps you had not heard from your counselor in 3 or 4 weeks because they were really sick, or they had a death in the family, or they were at a training or something like that. It doesn't always have to be that it was something bad or they were, ignoring you or something like that. Or maybe, as far as another kind of problem, maybe there was a policy that they were using. Listen to what they're saying, because they might clue you in on some information as to why you got to where you are right now. Or they might be able to provide you with who to talk to or what have you. So be sure to listen. Be willing to compromise. This does not mean that you give up everything that you want in favor of everything they want. It means you give a little and they give a little, and you meet in the middle for a deal. So you each get a little of what you want. And maybe sometimes you get a little bit more of what you want and they get a little bit less. But be willing to have a discussion and be willing to come to a compromise, an agreement of, what what you want, right? Put it on paper. So if you come to an agreement through a compromise, that should be on paper. Put it in writing. Whether it's you're working on your vocational rehabilitation plan, you want those things in that written format, in that plan, or after your meeting or after your phone call, write it down, put it in an email and send it to the person and say, hey, this is the summary of the meeting we just had, and this is what was said, and this is when it was said. So you have now documented the conversation. So it's there, for all time, so that, you have that later if you need it. when they are telling you about a decision, whether it's on the phone, whatever, ask for that decision in writing so that it's on paper. It tells you exactly what they've decided and why. And it should give you your appeal rights as well as part of that letter. Most agencies put those as part of the letter. So you want to have that on paper as well. And also, if someone tells you that they have made a decision which is basically a policy, ask them to see the policy. That is perfectly okay. You can hold that piece of paper, you can read it, look at it, and like I said, also know that some of these policies are published online. So this is something that you could do as part of your prep work as well if you want to look at that. But you are perfectly welcome to ask them for it, get it in writing. This is the policy, this is what it says. So, and then if you speak to somebody on the phone, like you have a phone meeting in addition to documenting and all that, make sure that in your documentation you write down who you talk to, what time you talk to them. You can get their title and write that down. These are all things that you can do. And this doesn't necessarily have to be necessarily because you're having a problem with the state agency or something. These are strategies you can use when you're calling the cable company because something is wrong with your cable, what have you. You want to write down who it is you talk to and what time and all of that. And if they give you a badge number, write down their badge number, that kind of thing, and follow up. If you agreed to do something, so let's say you have a vocational rehabilitation plan and you're supposed to go apply to colleges, or you're supposed to apply for financial aid in addition to whatever vocational rehabilitation did, you need to do your part and follow up. You keep up with the agreement the same as you would ask them to keep up with their agreement. So you have a responsibility, they have a responsibility. You take care of your responsibilities and report them back so that you follow up and you say, I'm doing what I said I was going to do. This is true on a job. This is true when you're advocating for yourself and you come to an agreement on something. You do what you say that you are going to do, right? And then you also call your counselor or whomever and you follow up and say, or send an email. I did what I said I was going to do. So I did XYZ. This is when I did it. However you want to say it to that other person as far as, an email or call, what have you. But let them know that you did it and, actually do what you said you were going to do. This builds trust. So it goes back to that nurturing those relationships. Build trust with the person. That's why you don't stretch your problem out or make it bigger, or say, for instance, oh, I haven't heard from my counselor in 2 years. Okay, well, maybe you heard from your counselor 2 months ago. You don't want to expand that and blow it up into 2 years. That hurts trust. Just like not following up and doing what you said you were going to do hurts trust. So be sure to follow up. And lastly, this book ends the first one as far as politeness. Say thank you. When someone does something good for you, if your counselor is timely about doing something, if, when your tuition gets paid, what have you, say thank you. I mean, I know that this is a program that you're getting services from, and, and it's a service that, anybody with maybe a disability can apply for, whatever. But even so, just like you like somebody to say thank you to you when you do something for them, or you do an activity that you've been asked to do, what have you, when somebody says thank you, think about how that makes you feel. Or if someone says, I appreciate you for all that you do, think about how that makes you feel. And so share that feeling, with this other person that's helping you. Thank you, or I appreciate you, or you did a good job or a speedy job. Those things all go a long way, and it goes a long way towards helping them want to help you in the future. So these are all self-advocacy techniques that you can use. So my next section is on the Client Assistance Program. This is one of the programs that we have where we may be able to provide you with advocacy assistance. So where we're helping you, like I said earlier, you find the people who can help you. Sometimes you need help to get your needs met. And so one of our 9 grant programs is the Client Assistance Program, and we have lots of others, but one of them is the Client Assistance Program, also known as CAP. And this is specifically related to vocational rehabilitation, Division of Blind Services, independent living services, that kind of thing. So the purpose of the Client Assistance Program, CAP, is to advise and inform applicants and individuals eligible for services and benefits available under the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Rehabilitation Act, as amended by the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, WIOA, and the Title I of the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, ADA, including students with disabilities under Section 113 and individuals with disabilities employed at sub-minimum wage under Section 511 of the Rehabilitation Act. So there's a variety of different programs that we can assist you with, as it says here, and they're all tied to these different acts or laws. So in relation to, say, for instance, the ADA, we can help you with understanding things like what are your rights related to an accommodation at work. What is the process that you need to go through? What does your employer need to be doing during this time? That kind of thing. So we can advise you. We can also help you sometimes work with that employer to get the accommodation that you're looking for. Obviously, we can help you with vocational rehabilitation and Division of Blind Services. And then, like I said, also, independent living programs, and as I talked about, shelter workshops and sub-minimum wage when you're having issues there. The Client Assistance Program, this is the second slide, so it's Client Assistance Program continued. In addition, applicants and eligible individuals may be provided advocacy and representation to ensure that their rights in their relationship with projects, programs, and services to protect their rights provided under the Rehabilitation Act. In addition to providing assistance and advocacy under the Rehabilitation Act, a CAP agency may provide information on the assistance and benefits on Title I of the ADA, especially those who have been traditionally unserved and underserved by the vocational rehabilitation program with respect to services that are directly related to facilitating employment for for applicants or eligible individuals. So basically, after we have investigated the problem and we know that it's maybe not necessarily something you can resolve, we can come in and help you, potentially resolve that, through some negotiation and things of that nature. But of course, first we're going to look into the issue, investigate the issue, and find out, if, it is an issue or maybe there was a misunderstanding, because sometimes, that way we can advise and clear things up for you. And sometimes there really is a problem and we can step in and advocate on your behalf. What does CAP provide? CAP assists those who are seeking services available under the Rehabilitation Act. Disability Rights Florida administers the CAP in a manner that empowers people with disabilities to fully understand and exercise their rights to services. CAP strives to assure that people with disabilities are allowed to make informed choices throughout the vocational rehabilitation and independent living process and are treated with dignity and respect. The CAP can help by providing information on the services available, including the time frames for these services, and by explaining the federal regulations and state rules. When there is a difference of opinion in any aspect of service delivery between the consumer and VR, CAP can directly get involved. CAP is required to resolve disagreements using informal methods to the maximum extent possible before resorting to administrative or legal remedies. So what all this means really is that, like I said, what we're first going to do is, try and understand what's going on, what the problem is, so investigate. We're also going to help you understand your rights. And sometimes, we might be able to listen to the problem and just tell you, oh, well, you have a right to this, or, you don't, or, here's some processes you can try, and that kind of thing. So we want to help you understand and empower you to be able to resolve these problems in the future, other problems you might come to. Well, here's the appeal process, or here's the person you can talk to. And we understand that sometimes, that's just not possible. And so, like I said, we can provide you information, but we can also directly get involved when there's just like no way that you can move forward. And, maybe you've gotten this adverse decision. You were told, no, you can't have this particular vocational goal, or no, you can't go to school, or, whatever have you. And then we can work to negotiate the problem, meaning we're going to try and resolve it first by talking it out and coming to an agreement. And if that just can't happen, then we'll talk about administrative or legal remedies. So we're going to try the least, invasive, I guess is the best word, remedy first, and then move our way up the chain, because sometimes you really can solve it by negotiation and get things moving forward. What does CAP provide? Continued. Examples of CAP activities include providing support and assistance to consumers so that they may advocate for themselves, so self-advocacy, providing information and referral to other programs and resources, reviewing case records and talking with counselors on behalf of our clients, supervisors, community rehabilitation providers, and others involved in the VR case. So it's the investigation part I'm talking about, where we're looking at those things. Helping to develop strategies to resolve disagreements through negotiation, representing clients at administrative reviews, mediations, and fair hearings, and providing information on Title I of the Americans with Disabilities Act. This Title I is the employment portion, so we can provide information to you, and like I said, sometimes we can help you work with your employer if you're just, having difficulty making it through that process. How does CAP provide services to clients? We can address complaints regarding denied access to vocational rehabilitation services. This could include negotiation, representation at appeals, explanation of DVR, that's Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, and DBS, Division of Blind Services, policies and rights and responsibilities of the client. So we're not only going to explain your rights, but we'll also, explain your responsibilities as well. We can assist in obtaining a reasonable accommodation in the workplace. This could be through assistance of DVR, DVS, so Division of Vocational Rehabilitation or Division of Blind Services, or directly through the employer. We can also refer to the EEOC, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or FCHR, which is Florida Commission on Human Relations. So, sometimes blind services or vocational rehabilitation can provide accommodations for you to use on your job. Like, for example, if you needed a specialized keyboard, this may be, and to a degree should be, the employer, should be providing you with these accommodations, with some exceptions depending on the size of the company and all that. But so we can help you with getting the employer to provide the reasonable accommodation, or blind services or VR can also provide those accommodations, in the event that the employer can't do it for some reason, or it's a less lengthy process through VR, however, to make sure that you can keep your employment. We can address systemic issues to increase access to assistive technology and work site modifications, like if there's a system problem, if there's a reason in the process that's causing a problem. Transition, school to work. By age 16, students covered by IDEA, that's the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, are required to have a further plan as they grow into their late teens. In Florida, we start the process at age 14 and develop a transition individualized education plan, TIEP. The TIEP is designed to be results-oriented process that focuses on improving academics and functional achievement to facilitate the student's movement from school to post-school activities, including post-secondary education, vocational rehabilitation, integrated employment, including supported employment, continuing and adult education, adult services, independent living, or community participation. Basically, this is going to be a process that's going to start at your high school, and then is process where your IEP is going to change to a transition IEP, and you should start getting services, related to transitioning out, learning about programs that you're going to need after school. You can be referred to vocational rehabilitation or division of blind services at age 14, so that you can begin receiving some of those pre-employment placement services to kind of get you in the mindset of going to work, after high school. And so when they're, after high school, you want to go into supported employment or regular employment, just community living, independent living, whatever you want to do. These kind of things should start happening. These processes should begin happening, when you're 14. And when you're 14, you can begin and should begin, attending your IEP meetings, because these meetings are about you, and your input is important in what you want for your future. What should each transition plan cover? Each transition plan should cover the use goals, what you want, and also what you're working on as far as goals, the kind of things that you need to work on to get better at, whether that's reading or academics, whatever, but also what are your post-school goals? Do you want to live alone? Do you want to live with your family? Do you want to go to college? Do you want to go to work? What kind of work do you want? What are your goals? It's going to cover all the supports and services that the young person with a disability will need to prepare for the fullest possible life as an adult. So what kind of services do you need in school to make this happen? Do you need the support of, having extra time as an accommodation? Do you need, say, specialized instruction in reading because maybe your reading isn't necessarily right there with your classmates or something like that? So what are those kind of things that you need to have the best life you can when you leave school? A transition plan looks ahead to the needs, changes, and possibilities of adulthood. An IEP or employment plan, or excuse me, an IPE, which is the plan that you get at vocational rehabilitation, or employment plan, focuses on preparing for work as an adult. So that plan that you're going to get through vocational rehabilitation is going to be specifically geared towards employment and what you're going to do. So all the services are going to be tied to the goal at the top of your plan. So that thing that you want to do. But don't worry, we all understand that you're teenagers and sometimes those plans change. So please understand that if you make a plan or a goal, that plan can be changed, just like your plan in school can be changed if needs change or that kind of thing. So don't worry, if you create a plan for employment and right now you want to be a police officer and then one day you decide that no, that's not what you want to do, that maybe you want to be a school teacher or you want to do something like that, so just know that those can be changed. But this plan is to look ahead and what services, what things are you going to need to know to or services you need to be able to make that happen. Sometimes, you might need an on-the-job training, or you might need a job coach, or you might need to learn how to write a resume. So what are those things that you need to look ahead? If the education system, vocational rehabilitation agencies, and private and government social services can provide it, a service or support, and the person covered by the plan needs it, the plan should show the way to get it. In other words, here is this service out here. Let's go for vocational rehabilitation. When you're in school, your school should refer you to vocational rehabilitation. Um, and also tell you how to contact vocational rehabilitation. Or should tell you about Agency for Persons with Disabilities and how you go about getting in contact with them to apply, for services from that agency if you need it. So they need to be telling you these things, and these should be part of your conversation at the school when you're having your transition IEP. Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, also known as the WIOA. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, WIOA, was signed into law by President Obama on July 22, 2014. This act reauthorizes the Adult Education and Family Literacy Act, or the AEFLA, with several major revisions. WIOA became effective on July 1st, 2015. And then you can see various vocational rehabilitation program regulations through 34 CFR Part 361. You can also see information about the Client Assistance Program CAP regulations through 34 CFR Part 370. These are just basically regulatory, and you can take that whole number, the 34 CFR, and put it into a Google search, and you will find these things, and you can read through them. But basically, the WIOA put a focus on vocational rehabilitation and other programs towards youth with disabilities and youth in general, and making sure that youth is looking forward to the future for employment. So building in those services to help you get to employment after high school and begin thinking about that instead of thinking about, you know, things like sheltered workshops or, you know, just staying home. So we're trying to have you go from school to work or to higher education rather from school to couch, because we don't really want that. Highlights of WIOA. It's about implementing strategies to help workers and job seekers achieve their fullest potential. So remember, I told you that one of the focuses of this is on youth in transition, to help you get to your full potential, to stop that high school to couch pipeline, to more or less be a high school to employment or high school to education. And I do have another presentation that I am doing. It's called Seeing the Future Without Limits, where myself and my colleague are going to talk about a variety of different options that are available to you. So you don't necessarily have to settle for any job or career that you don't want. You know, you need to look at the things that you do want, the things that are interesting to you, and help you get to where you want to be. So if you want to live independently, what is that going to take, and what is that going to look like? What kind of finances might you need? What kind of education might you need? So those should all be kind of looked at to help you explore that. So that's one of the purposes of this law. Recognizing that the needs of business and workers drive our workforce solutions. So it's also looking towards business leaders and how to get them involved in the process, and what do they need from workers, and how can we as service providers provide to them individuals who are going to meet their needs. So it's not just about having the community meet us, but for us to meet them where they are too and meet their needs. So how do your skills match up with what they need, and help us all come to solutions. Workforce systems support strong regional economies and plays an active role in community and economic development. Mandates enhance coordination, collaboration, and strategic planning through a unified state plan. So basically, we've got all these different agencies out there who work on employment in different aspects, like Career Source, like Vocational Rehabilitation, like Division of Blind Services. They're all kind of working on job placement, maybe for different populations, but they're all working for job placement, and sometimes they're going to overlap each other. You might be receiving services from both blind services and vocational rehabilitation, or vocational rehabilitation and Career Source. So they want to work together to get to the best outcome, to get you to the employment you know, that you want and is best suited for your needs. How do we accomplish this? Increase services to youth. So remember, I said this is a focus on youth. We want to make sure that we're talking to you and getting you out there and knowing that these services are available. You can get services when you're young. Like I said, you can start at age 14. Talk to your school about getting you referred. We can also, at Disability Rights Florida, provide a supervised referral to vocational rehabilitation. You can also apply. You can get the application online from vocational rehabilitation, and you can apply for Division of Blind Services straight through their website. So there's multiple different ways to apply and start getting those services at a young age, and that is something this law does. It pushes that to get those services to our youth. Emphasizes the need for youth with disabilities to have more opportunities to practice and improve workplace skills, considering career interests, and to get real work experiences. So one part of this really is this push towards making sure that you have more actual experiences, you know, in a workplace, like through on-the-job training, where you might go and get trained for a job, right there, while you're in high school. Some of the agencies are providing like career summer camps. There's a variety of different courses and trainings that they offer to youth, like work readiness training, a self-advocacy training, which is also important in the workplace, guidance and counseling about, what your options are and what things to explore, but to let you really, like I said, see the workplace, because sometimes we only know about the work we've seen. So maybe we know that dad's a fireman and mom's a teacher, so those are two jobs that we know about, but we might not know about all the different jobs that are out there. It really depends on what you see and who you come in contact with. There's thousands of jobs out there, and so, there's lots of things to look at and explore. Expands education and training options to help participants access good jobs and advanced careers. So we're looking at, more people going into career type opportunities instead of jobs. So expanding that ability to go into education and get the skills and certifications maybe that you need to get into a career type job instead of, you know, um, a job that may or may not have advancement potential. So maybe if you start as a bag boy, you stay as a bag boy, and we don't want to see that happen to you. We'd like to see you go from bag boy to stalker to this to that to that. Maybe even one day be a manager. So to have those advancement opportunities, just like your peers that don't have disabilities, helps disadvantaged and unemployed youth earn while they learn. So, helping you have those internship opportunities where you get paid, or helping you get a paid part-time job, or an on-the-job training, because sometimes for on-the-job training, you will receive pay. So you're earning money, so you can learn about money and spending money and saving money and all that kind of thing, while you're learning about work or getting your training or certification that you need for the next step. Aligns planning and accountability across core programs. This is more about reporting and that kind of thing. And so WIOA and DVR-DBS, so Division of Vocational Rehabilitation and Division of Blind Services, role in transition. DVR-DBS should participate actively throughout the transition planning process, not just when the student is nearing graduation. What this means is that VR or DBS should be having somebody to come to your IEP meetings at school, talking about what they can provide to you. How can they work with the school to get you the services that you need? Because you can work with vocational rehabilitation like on your breaks, during the summer, after school, so you could do on-the-job trainings during that time, so everybody could coordinate together and say, hey, little Johnny is going to go to our career summer camp. So this can be a service, and it doesn't take away from any of the services that the school is doing for you, because they're two separate agencies. So everybody should coordinate together to make sure that you are getting the maximum. So you can invite your VR counselor. You can give the school permission to invite your VR counselor to your meetings. So they should be there and be part of the process, so include them. And again, you can apply for VR services as early as 14. I know I've said that a couple of times, so it's kind of repetitive, but I just really want to reinforce that you can begin those services really early, and start with those OJTs, start with those workshops that work readiness training, the self-advocacy training, all of that. Begin that early, so that, maybe these things can become second nature. They can enhance and make better even the stuff that you're learning at school. So maybe at school you're learning about resumes, and then in your work readiness class you're learning about resumes. So, you're just kind of getting that double dose, so they can, like I said, participate and come to your meetings. DVR/DBS is expected to provide services to at least some students with disabilities while they are still in school. So, if you apply for the services and you participate in either their adult program or their pre-ETS, pre-employment program, you can get those services while you are still a high school student. When transition services are provided by DVR/DBS, as with any other VR services, they must be designed to promote or facilitate the achievement of the employment outcome identified in the student's individual plan for employment. So remember I told you earlier, you're going to select a goal that's going to be your career goal. That's what you're working towards. All those services and things in your plan need to support that career goal. So if your career goal does not mean that you need to go to college, that is not going to be a service in your plan. Because if you can be a bagger at Publix without a college education, that's how the plan is going to be structured. It's driven by your needs, maybe not. Needs may not be the right word, but unless you want to say you need to get to your goal, whatever it is, truck driver, we'll go with that. Okay, so what do you need in order to get to that goal? You need truck driving school, then that's what you need to get to that goal. Do you need to get a CDL license? They can help you with that. Do you need like a physical? Do you need a uniform? Those kind of things. So what are those things that you need to get to this goal that's at the top? If you look at it kind of like a pyramid in a way, even though it's really not, but that goal is the top of it, and all the things under here below it are how you get to it. But they all have to be designed to get you to that employment place. Transition services provided by Division of Vocational Rehabilitation and Division of Blind Services. Now, granted, if you become an adult client while you're in high school, your menu of services opens up to basically everything that the agency does, and you can do that. But, talk to your counselor about what might be right for you. If you have any questions, you can always call us as well. But, when you're doing like the pre-employment training program, these are the kind of things that you're going to see. So while in high school, medical and psychological assessments. So these are the evaluations. You can get those. Vocational evaluation and planning, career counseling and guidance, work readiness training, work experiences, and supported employment, job coaching. So like some of these services go together. So like if you do an on-the-job training, which is one of the core services in pre-employment training, then you might need a job coach to be successful at that. So this would be like supported employment. So they're not just sending you on a job all by yourself. You have some support there. You have a job coach there to help you learn the job. And then as job coaches do, they would phase back and allow you to become more and more independent on the job. So the work experiences is basically the same as the on-the-job training. Career guidance and counseling, it's just what it sounds like it is. You have somebody guiding you, not dictating to you that this is what you're going to do, but rather like maybe you took this vocational evaluation or this psychological test, and here are some things that it said. Maybe this job goal is too hard. Maybe try this over here that it recommended. It doesn't mean that you have to. It means that these are the recommendations, that kind of thing. So they can give you some guidance about what may be best based on some data and things like that. But, if you have a different interest or that kind of thing, then that's something for you to talk to your counselor about and ways that you might be able to accomplish that goal. Who are pre-employment youth? Youth with a disability. Individuals with a disability. Or these are the what make up youth with a disability, I should have said. But anyway, it's an individual with a disability between the ages of 14 and 24 years old, eligible for VR services, not potentially eligible, larger group than students with a disability. Basically, you're a young person, you have a disability, you would be able to receive services, and to be eligible for services, you have to need vocational rehabilitation services in order to be able to become employed. You have to have some sort of a barrier to employment that's based on your disability, and of course, you have to be a person with a disability. Pre-employment transition services can include job exploration counseling, work-based learning experiences, which may include in-school or after-school opportunities or experiences outside the traditional school setting, including internships, providing an integrated environment to the maximum extent possible, counseling on opportunities for enrollment in comprehensive transition or post-secondary educational programs in an institution of higher learning. Basically, they can talk to you, VR can talk to you about colleges, technical schools, those kind of things. Like, what are your options to train for the job you want? Some jobs require formal education, so like a college degree. Some things require a certificate program. Some things you can become an apprentice and learn right there on the job. So you would talk about your options. What are your training options? How do you get to your goal? Workplace readiness training to develop social skills and independent living. There are certain things you just need to be able to do on the job. You need to be able to relate to your coworkers, to be able to know what behavior is appropriate, what behavior is not appropriate in a workplace. How do you handle clocking in? How do you take care of your lunch, or what have you, those independent living skills, or do you have a person that helps you with those things, so you need to learn about those skills. Instruction in self-advocacy through person-centered planning, which may include peer mentoring with people with disabilities who are working in competitive integrated environments. Sometimes it helps to see somebody who has a disability who is doing the job that you want. And so that, you might be able to ask that person, how did you get to this job? Do you like this job? What are things you don't like about this job? What do you do? Like, what's your day look like? Is it different every day? Is it the same every day? There's a lot of different questions you can ask, and you could do this in a traditional job shadow too, but, it can help you to talk to somebody with a disability so you can see how maybe it can be done, with your disability. Expands education and training options to help participants access good jobs and advanced careers. So if you're, maybe already in a job, so you can get to the next step, whatever that is on your career ladder, and to learn again about those career focused type of occupations instead of just just jobs that may or may not have advancement opportunities. In other words, we want you to be that the whole law is designed to help you get to a place where you can advance and have opportunities for raises and things of that nature, just like your same age peers. Helps disadvantaged individuals and unemployed youth earn while they learn. So you probably already figured out this next slide. Why is it important to advocate for yourself and others? So I used to have a poem here that I would read, and I had to take it out because it was like super small. It was very hard for not only myself but others to read. But it talked about the importance of advocating for others, and one of those things being, because we all need people to help us from time to time. And sometimes, if we don't speak up when others are having issues, we may think, oh, well, this problem doesn't affect me, whatever have you. But then down the line, maybe that person could have helped you, but because, for whatever reason, now they're not available to help you. So sometimes even when a problem seems like it doesn't relate to you, it may at some point. So it's good to help others because eventually it may be at your doorstep and you may need that person. But really, the most important, I think, reason to advocate for yourself is because you need to be the gatekeeper of your rights. You are the one that can say, you are doing right by me or you're doing wrong by me. And I'm either going to let it happen or I'm going to say, no, you don't get to take this right from me. Be the gatekeeper of your own rights. Not allowing your rights to be taken away or adverse decisions to prevent you from full community participation. Don't allow others to come in and take from you your ability to be a part of the community, either through work or independent living or being a part of a group or whatever. You're the one that can say yes or no. You can be the one to say, I'm going to let you do this to me, or I am going to come in and you're going to hear my voice. It allows you to determine what happens to you. Remember, I talked about self-determination. You making your own choices, making your own life path. By being your own self-advocate, you get to implement those choices. You get to hear your voice heard and say, I am going to do this. I'm going to define my own way and I'm going to let you know what I want. I'm going to speak up for myself and use appropriate advocacy strategies. It allows you to be empowered. And I'm going to give you a very recent example in my life. And this is it's sort of a speak up for myself, but it's also speak up for others. I have a senior this year. And so as part of the graduating class of 2020, of course, like many of you out there that I'm sure are listening right now, you're not necessarily getting the graduation that you thought you were going to get. So for my senior, they're going to do what's called a drive-in graduation, where there's going to be a big screen like a drive-in movie. You drive in, you sit there and you watch it and you listen to it on the radio speakers, loudspeakers, what have you. Well, that's all fine and good if you have a car and you can drive yourself there and everything, but that's not true of everyone. Sometimes people with disabilities can't drive and they use other services, like a bus or like an Uber or a Lyft. Sometimes people that don't have disabilities just can't drive for whatever reason. And so they also use these services. So I was really upset that I was not going to get to see my son graduate because of my disability. I can't drive. And so I was upset for him. I was upset for myself because it's really important to me too. And I was upset that there was going to be a lot of other families in my community who were going to be in a similar situation. So I wrote to our superintendent and told him about our situation and how this was maybe, not something they thought about when they were coming up with this idea. And I did, by the way, thank him for coming up with an idea for our seniors so that, they would not have to go without any type of graduation ceremony, because I wanted him to know that I appreciated the idea, but by the way, maybe, you didn't think about this group or whatever. But because I was polite, stated my facts, stated my case appropriately, went to the person who can make a decision about it, they were able to implement a change where the district is going to rent some cars, so that we can sit in those cars and watch the graduation ceremonies, and then they'll clean them up for the next group to come in. So we're going to be allowed to come in by Uber, bus, or what have you, and then be put in one of these rented, sterilized vehicles to watch the ceremony. So I could have sat back and not said anything, and I would have missed my graduation, or missed my son's graduation, but also my son would have missed his graduation, and that would have broken my heart, and I think it probably would have broken his heart. But the point here is that I could have just let it happen, or I could speak up for myself and be a self-advocate, but I could also speak up for others so that, they would have an option. So advocacy is important. It really can make a change, not only for yourself, but for someone else that is in a similar situation. So I'm saying it's important because you don't want to just, kind of let life happen to you, but rather to be involved and speak up for yourself. And that is the way your choices get honored. That is the way that your voice gets heard. So I want to encourage you to go forward and, speak your mind, have your voice heard, be at the table. And as I've heard said so many things, or so many times before, nothing about us without us. So take your seat at the table and have your voice heard, because what you want is just as important as what anybody else wants for you. So, like I said, I just encourage you to do that. One way to get your voice heard right now at Disability Rights Florida is to fill out our 2021 Public Input Planning Survey. Your input matters to us. We want to hear from you so that we know what you believe our goals and priorities should be in the next year, like what topics and things are really important to you right now as a person with a disability. How can we help you? Please let us know. Please visit the link below between June 1st, 2020 and August 15th, 2020 to complete our annual Public Input Planning Survey. Your response will help us plan our goals, priorities, and objectives for 2021. Please visit www.disabilityrightsflorida.org/survey. For the next two slides, you will find resource pages. On these two resource pages, you're going to find a list of items or resources that I used in the development of this presentation, as well as resources that you can use for yourself. Of course, the first one is Disability Rights Florida at disabilityrightsflorida.org. Here you will find podcasts, informational articles under our disability topics, information about how we help, and an online intake form. As well as reports from investigations that we have done, links to PowerPoint presentations that we have done. Like I said, just a wealth and variety of information. If you can't find what you're looking for here, again, please contact our wonderful intake staff. Also, there is Rights Law. This provides educational information about how to advocate within schools and what your rights are as a parent or school student. Some of the things that you will also find on this website are a variety of books and trainings and things of that nature. I have also provided links to the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation and the Division of Blind Services. On both of these pages, you can find their applications, their policies, information about the agencies. On Division of Blind Services, you can even find some links to the regulations and laws that I told you about earlier. Remember, I told you could look up the 34 CFR things. Sometimes Blind Services has. This is our contact information, Disability Rights Florida. Our main headquarters office there at 2473 Care Drive, Suite 200, Tallahassee, Florida, 32308. This is our main number, 800-342-0823. And our TDD line at 800-346-4127. And again, that website address is disabilityrightsflorida.org. Please check us out. And again, if you have questions or concerns, please give our lovely and wonderful intake staff a call so that they can review your concern and either give you some information and referral for other service providers or to assess your matter for further consideration by our agency. We appreciate your calls and we look so forward to talking to you and hearing from you.